episode 3. I'm just dropping in today just to let you know what I've been doing this week and what progress I'm making on my projects. And then I've also been asked by a few people just to go over some of my favourite books, my sewing books. So here's a pile of them here, and I'll give you a quick overview of those in just a moment. So on last week's vlog, I explained that I was going to be adding a class on how to make some pretty bunting, which I've done. If you do subscribe to my channel, you should have been notified of that video that's been added. If you're already a sewer, bunting is probably a little bit too easy for you. But if you have got anybody, any relatives or any kids who you think would benefit from a real beginner class, then do share it with them. That would be much appreciated. The next thing that I was starting was the Wear Lemonade Simona blouse out of my lovely mustardy Liberty of London fabric. Now I'm super pleased that Wear Lemonade have, before I started sewing it, they got back to me to say that they were happy for me to use their patterns in my sew-alongs. So I have nowhere near finished this because I am videoing sewing it step by step, which means it's taking much longer than normal. And also I have to sew just in the daylight, and with working full time, it's going to take me some time. But it's coming together. I have got the body stitched together, and I'm currently working on sleeves. That's what I'm just videoing at the moment. I'm just about to add the cuffs and gather those. So I think this is going to be a pretty cool top, and you'll be able to have a go yourself if you want to follow along with my sew along on that. So that's what I've been up to. My next sewing that I want to plan for myself is another Orla Kiely dress. Don't think I'm going to use the same Wear Lemonade pattern as I've used, because I've made loads of that dress now. This is like the one I'm wearing now. Not decided yet what dress pattern I'm going to make, but I dropped on another Orla Kiely duvet set in TK Maxx today, which is in some lovely greens and browns and things. So again, it'll be perfect for autumn. It's such lovely fabric, and it's a right bargain. So from TK Maxx, this should be £108, and it was £39.99. It's a double duvet set, the same pattern on both sides, so you get loads and loads of fabric. I'll probably make a couple of dresses and a couple of skirts out of that, and you also get a free box. So that will be next. I'll keep you posted as to what dress I decide to make with that. Okay, so let's have a closer look at the books. The first one, so this is more of an educational book, is Winifred Ultridge Metric Pattern Cutting for Women's Wear. Now, pattern drafting is something that I'm trying to teach myself at the moment, but being self-taught and being absolutely hopeless at maths, it's not always going to be that easy. But this book really does go into the basics and gives you a real good understanding of how it all works. There's no pretty pictures in this book. It is all just kind of line drawings, but it shows you how to build basic patterns and then how to manipulate those. So it's certainly very informational. I am using an additional tool called a pattern drafter, which I'll just grab actually to show you. This is the pattern drafter. If you Google this, Maria, who makes these, does have a YouTube channel, so you can see this in action. But I have been able to draft my own patterns. Only real simple ones, a shift dress and an A-line dress, but they fit absolutely perfectly. So I definitely recommend taking a look at this tool. I will go into more detail on this on a future post, maybe show you a demo, but it's great. The next book is Vintage Couture Tailoring. This is another one that is educational. It's not really full of pretty pictures, but it's real old school techniques. So really good for the tailoring side of things. Not actually done that much in tailoring myself, but I have read this book and there's loads of useful information just to show you what it looks like inside. So it does go through some of the classic techniques. So that's Vintage Couture Tailoring. This next one is a Tilda studio book. I love Tilda fabric. It's so pretty and there's so much you can do with it. I especially like making the Tilda dolls around the Christmas time, mini ones to hang on the Christmas tree. So that's an idea actually for a future sew along, is sewing those cute little dolls. But this book is really inspirational. The photography in it is amazing. It's got lovely colours and loads of lovely projects. So for example, you've got the Tilda dolls, you've got other simple projects like bracelets, cute little elf hat, and that shows you what the patterns are like, so that it does include the patterns that are in the proper size. You don't have to photocopy it enlarging them, but they're pretty basic. So that's a great book. I've then got a collection of Cath Kidston books. So this is just one of them. This is Cath Kidston Sew. I do really love Cath Kidston fabrics, and this book does include some great projects. Lots of cushions, applique, baskets, tableware, aprons, so loads of good stuff that you can give a go. What I would say is, when I was a total beginner, I got this book, and I did find some of the instructions a little bit tricky to follow. I find it fine now, so it's probably just my lack of basic knowledge, but if it is meant to be at beginner level, I think some of the explanations could have been a little bit clearer. This is one of my favourite books, and you don't see this very often. This is And Sew to Bed, and this book is just vintage glamour. So you can see from the front cover there, that is one of the things that you can make, as these lovely silk pyjamas. The book feels great. The photography is absolutely amazing. It's all kind of vintage themed, as you can see there. There's a variety of projects, and it does include the patterns. So for example, you've got a simple powder puff there at the beginner level. Lavender bags, I've made loads and loads of those. But it does move up to quite complex projects. So for example there, the silk pyjamas, that's definitely on my to make list as soon as somebody buys me some lovely silk. Just look, that's what the photography's like. It's absolutely amazing. So that was And Sew to Bed. Then got Liberty Book of Simple Sewing. So this one again, it feels great. It's got lovely images inside of the Liberty fabrics, and it has some simple patterns, some simple projects. So for example, cloud pillows, how to cover photo frames using Liberty fabric, fabric letters, covered buttons. So simple projects in there, but again, it's a great book and it illustrates the Liberty fabrics really well. This is So Many Dresses, So Little Time. This is a good book if you want to start building your knowledge on pattern drafting. So you're not actually drafting patterns, but you're manipulating some patterns to make adjustments. And then you can put loads of different bodices together, skirts together, collars, sleeves, pockets. So you're building your own dress. So it's got good photography in there, and the instructions are pretty clear as well, especially on how to manipulate the patterns. I was able to do it successfully. So that was So Many Dresses, So Little Time. This is Amy Butler's styled stitches, 12 easy ways to 26 wonderful bags. The photography is amazing, the colours are amazing, as you would expect really when it's Amy Butler fabric. The projects are great, there's a wide variety of different bags, and the instructions are really good as well. I've sewn up several of these. So that's what that looks like. Purses, wallets, bags. So that's great. We've then got the Great British Sewing Bee Sew Your Own Wardrobe. There's several books available in this range. This is the only one that I've got. And in fact, it's great. It does include all the patterns. The instructions are really clear. There's a variety. It's mainly clothing, but there's a variety. There's ladies wear, there's men's wear, there's children's wear, and I may actually give a particular coat a go this year. I'll just see if I can find it. There you go. There's a cute 1960s style coat, so I think I'm going to give that a sew that up this winter. This is Burdastyle Sewing Vintage Modern. This is another one where it does include full-size patterns, but it's base patterns that you then manipulate into different items of clothing. But it runs through the generations, so you've got the 20s to 30s, and then it'll go up 40s to 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Some real good projects in here. The only thing that I find a little bit of a faff is you have to add seam allowance to Burdastyle patterns. Once you've done it a couple of times, you do get used to it, but it does just mean that it takes up a little bit longer. The instructions are pretty clear on both how to sew and how to manipulate the patterns. I've not been totally confused by any of the instructions at all. So that was Burdastyle Sewing Vintage Modern. I'm sure you will have heard of this one. This is Tilly and the Buttons, Love at First Stitch. In my opinion, it's the best book to get if you are a beginner and looking to learn how to sew. Tilly is really good at explaining how to sew, and she builds it up. So for example, you'll start with a real simple project on how to make a headscarf, and then the projects slowly get more difficult: pyjama bottoms, skirts, and then you move up to making blouses and dresses. The illustrations are great, the patterns are great and include seam allowance and a full size, and the step-by-step instructions are absolutely perfect. Sewn loads of things out of that book. Another one from Great British Sewing Bee family. So this is Learn to Sew with Lauren. This was one of the first books that somebody got for me when I was first learning how to sew. And again, it builds up from beginner level to more difficult dresses and things. I did find some of the instructions a little bit tricky to follow on some of the projects, but then on others they were the best instructions I've ever seen. So for example, it does include in here how to sew a patchwork quilt, and the finishing instructions on how to kind of sew the corners and things were the best I've ever seen in this book. So a bit of a mixed bag really. So the final book is Orla Kiely pattern. This isn't a sewing book as such, it's inspiration. So this kind of goes into the back history of Orla Kiely and how her career started in both the textiles, the fashion design, and the homewares. What I really love about this book is it does give you pictures of the different fabric designs. I'll just flick to where that is. So for example there, you've got a bit of history about the fashion design, but then it moves on to having all the different prints displayed in the book, and look, matching with my dress. So it's a real good one for inspiration. I do also use this book with some of my flat lays on Instagram. So if I choose whichever page matches with whatever I'm photographing, and then I'll use that on a flat lay as part of the design. So that is a great book. So that's it. That's the lowdown to my sewing books. I do have a few more than that, but they're scattered around the house. Do let me know what you think of those, and if you've got any questions about any of the books, just ask it in the comments. I will add a list in the video information of what the books are called and who the authors are if you did want to search for those yourself. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video today, and let me know what your favourite sewing books are as well. If you've had any that you find really good and that I've not shown there, just add it in the comments, because I'm always on the lookout for new books or what to tell friends and family to get for presents. Thanks for watching today, and I'll see you soon.